Let's start making yellow, teeny tiny flowers. Prepare at least 4 shades of yellow and greenish yellow beads. Here I have a box of yellow Japanese Toho Aiko beads. For this video tutorial, I chose what I think are the most beautiful shades. First goes Lime Transparent Luster, number 105. I like its glossy finish. It's absolutely my favorite type of beads. Then comes a similar shade, but of a different type. Peridot Green Silver Lined Inside, number 24. This one is Citrine Transparent Rainbow, number 175. Next is Yellow Opaque Luster, number 128. And Dark Yellow Opaque Rainbow, number 402B. These 4 shades will be my main ones. And this one is additional. Just sprinkle a little bit at the base of the inflorescences. Open the packages and put the beads into spinners. I will put the darkest yellow beads just on a mat, since I am going to use quite a bit of it. This amount is not enough for stringing with the bead spinner. Let's learn the technique used for mimosa branches. I have already created all the branches except of the first and third. We are going to start weaving with the top of the first branch. I will use the drawings from my notebook, but in fact, as I said in the first lesson, it's not necessary to follow the same pattern every time. The main thing is to understand the idea and technique, and then just let your imagination flow. Each time do it a bit different. As my husband says, there is no perfection in nature, everything is created by eye. This is the first branch, let's start with it. Cut a 1 meter piece of 26 gauge golden wire. Then you can string about 30 centimeters of beads right away. Or start making the very first yellow bud and then string 30 centimeters of beads. I will start with the bud, for which I need to string approximately 2-3 centimeters of these beautiful and very delicate lime beads. I am not using any ruler, measuring just by eye is enough. Now I leave about 20 centimeters of bare wire, again not using any ruler. And I am going to use my basic tool for today, a toothpick. Right in this spot I will need to make the first 2 loops. But these are not the usual loops. To reduce the wire twists at the base of each loop that might look excessive and sloppy, we need to turn the string around the toothpick, 1 and 2. We just made 2 coils on a toothpick. Remove all extra beads, leaving just 2 tight coils of beads without any gaps. Cross the wires in the middle and start twisting. Easy way to do it is by rotating a toothpick. Now remove the toothpick and try to squeeze 2 loops tightly together, molding them in a tiny glass ball. While you continue to twist wires for another 1.5 centimeters. Make sure the beads are not loose. It's good if the loops converge at the base, forming a drop shape. For example, here I still see some bare wire not covered with the beads. In this case, I open up the coils and let the beads slip further. You see, they are loose again. Continue to twist so that the wires tighten under the coils. This way, the very first mimosa bud looks like a tiny ball. It's hard to tell now that these are two separate loops or coils. It looks more like a small, uniform bead, which we technically created of seed beads. Once again, look at the shape of this detail. It starts with the pointed bottom, then the string forms two coils, then a pointed bottom on the other side, and a twisted wire leg at the end. From above, we can see two coils, but there is no room for a toothpick anymore, as we tightened them correctly. In total, the twisted wire leg under the first bud is about 1.5 centimeters. Now, as we already discussed with you, we need to string 30 centimeters of beads from lime to bright yellow shades. So, we'll get transition from young greenish yellow blooms to more saturated yellow and sometimes bright or even dark yellow. I still have a leftover of some lime beads on wire that I put back into the first spinner. Next, I want to use this color. Begin mixing colors, just like a fine artist. First, I'm taking literally just one bead of this color. Second, I'm adding a few transparent ones. Then some more of these. Then, let's say, one yellow. And again, a few transparent lime beads. And so on, mixing how I feel. Next time I can do it differently. The main idea is that, you see, I don't start with bright yellow, but light green and light yellow. And then, gradually, I incorporate bright yellow shades. And at the very end, I might even take quite a bit of dark yellow beads. Until I get 30 centimeter string of beads in total. Taking more of this yellow now, after I already have about 10 centimeters of beads strung. Still adding a little bit of light green shades to create a smooth transition. Now, taking the first, just one bright yellow bead. And so on and so forth. Feel and act as an artist. Here is your palette and canvas. Mix the colors however you imagine. But observing the principle from light green to bright yellow. I already have 30 centimeters, even a little more. No worries, you can always take off the leftover later. I opted out of stringing these dark yellow beads, since we are working on the very first unit, where this shade is not at all necessary. It will appear closer to the base of the mimosa inflorescence. Not to lose beads from wire, make a loop at the end. Or use a bead stopper. Usually I use two of them, just to be sure. Even if one of them falls off, the second one stays on, so I never lose my beads. We have already made the smallest flower on top of the mimosa branch. It consists of 2 loops, or better to say, coils. Next, we will make a flower from 3 loops and then again from 3 small loops. So far, we always use a toothpick. Step off about 1 cm of bare wire. At this point, put a toothpick and make 3 turns around it. Slide back the extra beads. Make sure that the coils are nice and tight, without any gaps. Now cross the wires in the middle. I know, it's a little inconvenient, because acres are really very tiny, but it will come with practice. So I start rotating the toothpick literally 2 or 3 times just to fix. Now I feel that it's safe to remove the toothpick and continue twisting wires, simultaneously squeezing the beads, so that the outer coils tighten even more. This way, the middle loop turns out to be the highest, and the outer ones will round up the perfect shape of the bud. By the way, I think what also might help to achieve the right shape is separating all 3 coils like that, so that the beads don't cling onto each other. This way I can tighten them even harder. So now I see that it's all good. There are no loose beads, and the wire is fully covered with beads from one end to another. There are no extra wire gaps, and the beads sit quite tightly. Well, now when I like it, I'm ready to squeeze the coils. As a result, we've got the second flower or mimosa fluff, consisting of 3 loops or coils. This time the wire leg is also quite long, about 1.2 centimeters. I will make the next one shorter. Also, I want to stress out that I twist wire in all cases the same direction, with my right hand towards me. The first wire leg was twisted like that, the second one as well, and now I'm twisting these 2 wires together exactly the same way. Twist for about 5 millimeters here, and the next bud will be on the opposite side. Step off about 1 centimeter of wire, slide the beads and make 3 coils again. Remove the extra beads. Start twisting wires a couple of times just to secure beads in place, and after that remove the toothpick. Finish twisting and shape the little bud as before. Round up and squeeze. Here I twist 5 millimeters again. We made the first 3 small flowers, and further we move on to the most interesting. Here we have 2 loops or 2 coils with rondelle beads in the middle, for which we are going to use a thin 40 cm long piece of 28-30 gauge wire. Please keep in mind there is no need to strictly follow this specific layout, but I will try to make it exactly the same now, just for better understanding and perception of the pattern on paper. In fact, the schema is not flat or just left to right only. All these flowers go all the way around. Let's do it! I turn my project so that the working wire is on the right. I find it more convenient sometimes to always start on one side, to the right from the project. Again, leave about 1 centimeter of bare wire and make 2 turns with the string of beads around the toothpick. 1 and 2. Remove the excess and start twisting. You've got 2 loops on one wire leg. Spread the coils apart. We will insert a rondelle bead inside. Use a thin 28-30 gauge wire. I will take the thinnest, so we have a better contrast with 26 gauge wire. Measure off and cut a 40 cm wire piece. I decided that for the first branch I will use these 3 beads. Obviously, I take the smallest and thinnest light green rondelle bead as the first one. Next, I will pick up this bright yellow one and then the bigger greenish one. By the way, this is the only bead from this set which looks somewhat special and different from all the others in color and even in shape. I decided to use it in the first branch since it's pretty light. Well, now string the first light green rondelle bead and pass it to the middle of the wire. Begin to twist wire ends in the same direction as all other parts. Literally 2 or 3 twists is enough for a start. Now pass both ends through one of the loops and insert the bead in between of 2 loops. Just look at it. That's why, by the way, I like to use these flat rondelle beads and not just round ones. They fit very well and provide this spherical shape. Next, we need to wrap these 2 thin wires around the thicker wire stem under the yellow fluff in the same direction. In my case, with my right hand towards me. You can do it either both wires at once or one by one, which will even be neater. In order to be extra accurate, try to fit the coils repeating the spiral thread of the leg. When you reach the stem, split the wires up. So now we have one thicker and one thinner wire on both sides. Twist them together for another 5 millimeters. Now we have 3 simple buds and 1 bloom with the faceted bead in the middle. Let's move on to the 5th flower with the 2 big loops. We used a toothpick before. Now we are going to use a lollipop stick to create bigger loops. All the next ones will be big. First bloom will consist of 2 big coils, and the next flower will consist of 3 big coils. Everything is the same, but use the stick instead of the toothpick. Place the stick at the distance of 1 centimeter and make 2 turns around. Twist the wires in the middle. Remove the stick and twist while tightening at the same time, giving it a perfect shape. We've got it. By the way, you can start giving these little legs a slightly curved shape so they acquire a natural look. You'll need to twist this section again by 5 millimeters. But before that, just make sure to split the thick and thin wires and continue. Now I do the same thing, only with 3 coils. And again, twist next section by 5 millimeters. Here is what I've got, the 3 coils fluff. And again, the same shape. Here we can say it's pointed to a drop shape. Then we have 3 even round coils. And then the string is finished by the pointed end again. See how this element looks when spread apart. I loosened it a bit just to show you the geometry of the technique. Instead of making 3 loops, each of which would have a wire leg, just imagine its bulkiness. We make 3 coils. 1, 2, 3. Here you see a spring. In fact, we still kind of have these 3 loops, but only 1 leg. Also, we try to tighten the outer coils more, but leave this central one higher and larger. When we press our coils, they will turn into a tiny beaded ball. A beautiful spherical shape. You see this rounded shape here. As a result, we have such a nice little ball. You can't even tell from the distance that it's made of seed beads. It looks just like a solid unified bead. So we have already made 6 blooms. 3 small buds in the beginning, then 1 small fluff with a rondelle bead, 2 big fluffs, 2 and 3 coils each. And now we are starting a big fluff made of 2 coils with a bead in the middle. Our working wire with the string of beads goes to the right. Take a lollipop stick and create 2 big coils. The rondelle bead will be fixed inside with 28-30 gauge wire. Take a thin wire, measure off and cut 40 centimeters. Put on a yellow bead and twist it in the middle. Just 2 or 3 times. Put the ends through one of the loops and twist them with the wire leg. Again, distribute all the wires evenly so that we have 1 thick and 2 thin wire ends on each side. Then twist together for 5 millimeters. Let's look at the pattern. Now we need to make 2 fluffs, each composed of 3 big loops. In order to get the ideal wire twists, align and distribute the wires well so that they do not tangle, but remain parallel to each other. Just the last two flowers remaining. First one consists of two big coils and one rondelle bead, for which you need 30 cm of thin wire. The second one is comprised of three big coils. Throw the extra beads back into the spinner. The first branch with 11 fluffs or yellow mimosa flowers is ready. I twisted for about 1 cm below the last 11th fluff. I leave the wire ends like this for now. The second branch will be attached to this one. This way it will be easier to twist them together. Here we go. The first finished branch and its pattern. As you can see, it's still quite flat. We did it on purpose just to be able to see the pattern idea better. In reality, of course, it should look more like this. Distribute all the stems in different directions, to the front, to the back. Feel free to interchange them how you like. Some can be nearby, some can be apart. This way it looks much more natural. You can even twist your branch a little if you wish. Shape the stems of the blooms and bend them beautifully. Give the shape to the branch itself so it looks alive and natural. So the first branch is done. Next branches patterns are waiting for you in the third lesson.